بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد. Welcome everyone back to our daily summary of Tarawih reflections, inshallah. I hope everyone's doing well. I hope everyone had a good day so far. And if not, inshallah, hopefully we can listen to this summary and hopefully we can feel boosted and we can feel a little bit more energetic, inshallah, and be more productive throughout the day for the rest of the day, inshallah. So yesterday we left it at the end of Surah Ali Imran, and we spoke about the Battle of Uhud, and we discussed a few things. One thing I believe we forgot to discuss was Mubahala. Mubahala is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala discussed in Surah Ali Imran as well. فقل تعالوا ندعو أبناءنا وأبناءكم ونساءنا ونساءكم وأنفسنا وأنفسكم ثم نبتهل فنجعل لعنة الله على الكاذبين إن هذا لهو القصص الحق. Now, in this part, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about Mubahala. When Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, just give you a quick summary of it. When Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam sent the message of Islam to Najran, and he told them that, look, take Shahada. He invited them towards Islam, and he said if they don't take Shahada, then they will have to pay the jizya tax, and if they don't do that, then they will have to get ready to fight the Muslims. So upon hearing this from Najran, they sent three people. They sent Shurahbil, Abdullah bin Shurahbil, and Jibar bin Faiz. These three individuals, they came back and they wanted to see Rasulullah sallallahu and so Rasulullah sallallahu was speaking to them, and eventually it got to a point where they started to lie about things and they started to hide things, and so eventually Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered the Prophet ﷺ. This was something called Mubahala, is that okay, so if you're truthful, you pray for the wrath, you basically pray for the wrath of Allah to come on me, and if I'm right, then I will pray for the wrath of Allah to come on you, the punishment of Allah to come on you. And the way this was done was you call your family, I call my family, and we'll do this. So eventually Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam with Hassan radiallahu anhu, Hussein radiallahu anhu, Fatima and Ali radiallahu anhuma, he was told to go and do this. So when these people, they saw that this is really serious, and they deep down inside they knew, and this is one of the greatest miracles of the Prophet ﷺ, that even his enemies would respect him. Even the enemies had a lot of respect for the Prophet ﷺ. They knew he was truthful. They knew that he was a trustworthy person. By the way, the titles as-Sadiq and al-Amin, these titles were given to Rasulullah ﷺ before even he claimed to be a prophet, before even his declaration of prophecy. So these people, they figured out, they spoke to him, they understood. They were not just ignorant people, like in that sense. So they made mashwara, and they kind of discussed the matter among themselves, and they came to the conclusion that, listen, it's not worth it. Let's not do this with this guy, because we're going to lose and we're going to get the wrath of God, of Allah on us, and it's not worth it. So let's just leave it at that, and we will make a deal. So that this whole thing is discussed in Ali Imran as well. Now moving forward, we start Surah Nisa. Surah Nisa, in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in Surah Nisa, he talks about a few things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibits unlawful earning and extorting money and property from others. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enjoins people to fully restore the wealth. Inna Allah ya'murukum an tu'addu al-amanati ila ahliha, and property belonging to orphans. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also cautions the guardian of the orphans against substituting the good provisions of the orphans with their inferior ones. Now, this is another thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, actually this is before Surah Nisa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about, he teaches us that, look, you might be in charge of an orphan, you might be in charge of an institute, you might be in charge of a masjid, you might be in charge of, you might be in the position of authority where you have control over the goods that are coming in for the people that are deserving of it. Now, if you misuse that, and if you don't take care of that, and if you're not being truthful and honest in those things, then this is, you might be, we might be able to get away from people in this world and kind of hide it from them, but eventually a time will come that we'll have to stand up in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it's not going to be pleasant, it's not going to be easy, because everything is being recorded and we have to answer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So therefore, watch out for these things. When somebody is entrusted with the money of the poor and the needy, they have to make sure that they take care of that, and they make it reach the deserving people. If they start to take a part in it, and they start to observe, and they try to eat this money. And another part is mentioned is that what people would do sometimes is that they would keep the good things and they will give the orphans the lesser of the good things. Now, this is again Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is cautioning us that if this is the case, then this is going to be something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will catch the people on the Day of Judgment. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also makes it clear that a man is limited to only 4 wives at a time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also tells man that he should rather have only one if he fears that he would be unable to deal justly with them. And now here, obviously, this is something that is so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did allow it, obviously, and there are some rules and regulations, and who can, who cannot, and what are the things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala discusses that in details, but he did permit it because it's something that existed pre-Islam as well. But Islam came and put a cap on it. Islam came and put a limit on it and set the rights for the woman for it. So Islam actually enhanced it and made it better. And obviously there's a test for there in men and also for women, that the men they have to make sure that they treat them right. And it's not only that you provide them with money and that's it, you leave them, now you go and enjoy yourself with somebody new. That's not the case. Rather, you have to make sure you are involved and you are engaged in all of your family matters, in all the families, and you have to be taking care of them. On the other hand, for the sisters, for the women, it's also a test, because no woman wants to sacrifice their husband. So obviously, when you do that, you are giving priority to the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is something that is mentioned in the beginning of Surah An-Nisa. And also in Surah An-Nisa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala specifically talks about the dowry, and that when you give the dowry, you give dowry not in a way like, okay, this is your dowry, and in a respectful way. This is her right. This is the woman's right, that she receives her dowry properly, with respect, with honor. This is not a favor that you're doing on them. So you give the dowry accordingly, respectfully, and don't just give it in a way where you feel like you are doing them a favor, because that's not the case. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also talks about the inheritance, who should receive inheritance. The whole long ayat, yusikumullahu fi awladikum lidhakari mithlu hadhil unthayn fa in kunna nitha'an fawqa ithnatayn. There's a whole page where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala discusses who will get what will the children get, what will the mother get, what will the the brothers get, who will get how much, and what are the scenarios if there's one brother, if there's 2 sons, one daughter, if there's 2 daughters, 1 son, if there's the wife left, if the wife goes, there's so many scenarios. And obviously you have to sit with the scholar regarding this, and if you want to leave a bequest, or if you want to talk about your inheritance beforehand, then we have to sit with the scholar, and we have to go through what we have, and according to Quran and Sunnah, who gets what. This is also discussed in detail in Surah An-Nisa. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also talks about the importance of settling debts. If somebody has debt, it's very important that we settle our debt before we die, because there's 2 things. There's hukukul ibad and hukukullah. There's the rights of Allah, then there's the rights of people. So when it comes to the rights of people, we have to make sure that we give the rights of people in this world. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive us for the rights of Allah. But when it comes to the rights of people, we are responsible for the rights of people, and we have to make sure that we pay attention to the rights of people before we leave, because once we die, that's it. There's no coming back, there's no second chance, there's no so we have to settle debt. Some of us, Allah forgive, I during this zakat time, when we spoke about zakat, people called me, mashallah, like a whole bunch of people called me and reached out to me, and they said, I have this amount of money sitting with somebody, and they have no intention. It doesn't look like they want to pay. Somebody called me and told me they have money sitting with them for 15 years. 15 years this person hasn't paid them back. Can you imagine that? Now, a person like that, Allah forbid, if they die tomorrow and this person doesn't forgive him, that person is going to be in a lot of trouble. In a lot of trouble. So if you have unsettled debts, if you owe somebody, pay them, because you don't know when you're going to die. And if somebody owes you, encourage them to pay you. And if you know this guy can't pay you, and if it's something that you can forgive, then for the sake of Allah, forgive them, because otherwise they cannot be in peace in their grave. They cannot be in peace anywhere afterwards in the hereafter, because they have not settled their debts. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the paramount importance of dissolving all of this and taking care of these debts and these things that one might have. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about also how to if there is fornication or accusation of something of that sort, then there has to be if there's adultery, there's fornication, then how is the matter taken into court? How is it dealt with? What kind of witnesses are needed? This whole thing is also discussed. Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala emphasizes the importance of tawbah as well, and the punishment for a person, if they are accused, and if it comes out that they are somebody who committed those acts, then for that they will have to go through punishment, and they will have to be answerable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So all these things are discussed in the surah. Now we finished 4th juz, and we start 5th juz, and here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also talks about, again, laws pertaining to marriage. Again, remember, Surah Nisa is named after women, right? So there's a lot of things, a lot of subjects that discusses the matters related to women. So dowry and marriage is discussed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enumerates all those women whom a person cannot marry. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about all those women that a person cannot marry. So in Islam, alhamdulillah, we have sets of rules and regulation. Among them are those that some women are our mahram, that they can come in front of us without having to cover themselves, and we can go in front of them without having to cover, without them having to cover themselves, and they are called our mahram. One of the reasons why mahram is required is that when a person is getting married, they need their mahram, their guardian or their wali. They need their mahram when they're traveling more than a distance of 48 miles, and they have these are requirements in Islam. There are guardians needed for the females at times. So these are the mahram. So who are the people that are forbidden for a person to marry? This is also described in details in this part of the surah of Surah An-Nisa. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also talks about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about Jahannam, and Jahannam will be the punishment for committing these grave sins. Take profit from mutually agreed contract for sale. Extortion and oppression are forbidden in all circumstances. Now, if somebody makes a mutual agreement and they want to, reap profit, and they want to gain something out of it, a mutual contract that is agreed, then it's fine. But if somebody in the process they are oppressing, they're extorting, and they are doing things on the what do you call this? Like, they try to take shortcut towards it, and they try to abuse the other person. Then these are things that will be dealt with in akhirah as well. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says that a wife, how there will be problems with the wife, there will be problems with the husband. The husband and wife will have problems. So if there is a problem, there's ways to deal with it. If you can't deal with it, then you can you can get somebody, arbiter, to come and reconcile and kind of play the middleman, and kind of help them listen to both sides of the story, and help them to fix the problem. This is also talked about in this surah of Surah An-Nisa. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states that humiliating punishment will be seized people who are miserly and ungrateful. Now, obviously, miserliness is not something that is encouraged in Islam, we as Muslims, we are taught to give, we are taught to be generous, we are taught to give charity. Our beloved Prophet ﷺ taught this ummah to be generous and kind towards others, and whatever you possess, if you're in a position to give, you should give. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks over and over, in this surah as well, that a person who's miser, then a person will obviously, they will have some kind of punishment in the hereafter that will not be so fun to endure, obviously. And also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the impermissibility of alcohol. And then obviously when alcohol was forbidden, it came down slowly. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the creator of this human being, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows who needs what, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows how to deal with people. So obviously He did not just say boom, haram, you can't. So first it started off, okay, there's some good things, there's some bad things, قُلْ فِيهِمَا إِثْمٌ كَبِيرٌ وَمَنَافِعُ لِلنَّاسِ, it's a grave sin, but also there's some good in it. وَإِثْمُهُمَا أَكْبَرُ مِنْ نَفْعِهِمَا. However, the bad overweighs, it overtakes the good. So but then again, certain things took place. Some Sahabi, they came to Salah and they stood up on the Musalla in the state of being intoxicated and drunk. And so therefore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals, لا تقربوا الصلاة وأنتم سكارى, don't come near Salah while you're intoxicated and you're drunk. And then eventually the ayah came down, إنما الخمر والميسر والأنصاب والأزلام رجس من عمل الشيطان فاجتنبوه لعلكم تفلحون. That verily, these things, these intoxicants are not permissible, and they are definitely from shaitan, and they are from the tools of shaitan. فاجتنبوه, so stay away from these things, لعلكم تفلحون, so that you may be successful, and you might be so that you may be blessed and with rahmah and mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also talks about tayammum, the dry wudu. Now tayammum is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this ummah, that if we are not, there's a few conditions. Obviously, if we can't find water near us, there's a distance that is prescribed, or within this distance, we can't find any water and you're in the middle of nowhere, obviously you are permitted to do tayammum. You are allowed to make the dry wudu without water. You need some, you need a brick or a wall, dusty wall, or you need the ground, the earth, and you hit your hand on it, then you hit, it pass it over certain parts of your body, and you are able to make tayammum. So this was a gift that was for this ummah, and this is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, this was due to also a woman, one of the wife of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One of the trips that they were taking, something happened and they lost something, and because of the delay and so on and so forth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given this ummah and blessed this ummah with tayammum. And this was due to a woman again. So this is also mentioned in Surah An-Nisa, the permissibility of tayammum. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about also, again, returning the trust. We spoke about the signs of the hypocrite. What are the signs of the hypocrite? And the signs of the hypocrite are that they break their trust. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is again encouraging one and all to return the trust to the rightful owner. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also talks about the testimony should be given truthfully and unambiguous terms, even though it may have adverse repercussion and oneself or one's family members. Now, when it comes to giving testimony, sometimes we might want to twist and turn our testimony because it's going to go against our own family members, or so you want to kind of not be truthful or not be completely honest and so on and so forth. That's not the way to give testimony. We have to give testimony whenever it is needed. We have to be truthful in our testimony. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again encourages us about this in this surah. And another statement of extreme importance in this verse is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala declares, although He may forgive any sin, He will never forgive the sin and the act of shirk. Now this is another thing that we have to consider, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives, but when it comes to shirk, it's a grave sin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Inna Allah la yaghfiru an yushraka bihi wa yaghfiru ma duna dhalika liman yasha. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives all the sins except for when we associate partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we need to be careful about this as well. And going forward a little bit, one of the central themes of Surah Ma'idah, I guess we can start Surah Ma'idah tomorrow, inshallah. Yeah, that's what I give us tawfiq. Yeah, we can start Surah Ma'idah tomorrow. We've already done 20 minutes today. So may Allah SWT give us tawfiq and ability to, inshallah, bring these beautiful qualities into our lives, and those abstain from those bad qualities that were mentioned here. To be honest, to be truthful, to be kind and nice to our family members, to take care of the dowry, to take care of our women folk, and to be a gentleman, inshallah. Allah SWT accept one and all. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.